problem is? I ain't got no problem, man. Don't tell me what my problem is.
All started with a particularly heated argument with Chaos, a fellow cast member who had never been shy about speaking her mind and was known for her brash attitude and willingness to stir up trouble. Had watched Scrappy's turbulent journey unfold on screen, including his ups and downs with his family relationships and career, but nothing could have prepared the world for the day when Scrappy's actions would lead to this fall from grace. Scrappish had always been a pillar of love and hip-hop Atlanta, known for his fiery temper and allegiance to the people in his circle were offended, and what started as a disagreement swiftly descended into a full-fledged fight. The producers and crew who had been present during the scene were startled that this wasn't just another hot argument, but rather that this was a man who had crossed a line behind the cameras. Scrappy, always renowned for his short fuse, was nearing his breaking point as the two men traded angry words yet it. His tone was dangerous, and the words themselves left little room for interpretation. There was no tolerance in the love and hip-hop brand. Scrappy threats would finally cement his doom. In a moment of fury, he promised mayhem in a way that went beyond simple words. When it came to threats and violence, reality TV has always operated under the pretense of anarchy and drama, but there were limits. It did not take long for the authorities to determine Scrappy's outburst had gone beyond one of the most familiar personalities on the program. Scrappy lost his employment. Swift made the decision after carefully weighing the possible effects on the show's reputation as well as the safety of the cast and crew. For Scrappy, it was a devastating blow because he had been a part of love and hip-hop Atlanta from the start, and the show had been crucial to this career because of the platform it provided, a chance to showcase his music life and complex relationships with his family. But now that the news had surfaced, all of that was in jeopardy. A reminder of the cost of his wrath and his incompetence to control it in a moment of emotion. Fans were heartbroken, with some even enraged at Scrappy for becoming furious and creating debates in the days that followed Scrappy's termination. While some expressed dismay at how promptly the program had taken action, this was a reflection of the fine line reality stars routinely tread between entertainment and personal repercussions. Scrappy sat silent and took some time to reflect what he had done as public persona had always remained unaffected by the Khaotic continuing to appear on the show despite the tension between him and Scrappy. The show would continue without Scrappy, but for the first time in a long time the focus was no longer on him. The lesson was difficult but necessary, and the anger that had once protected him now stood in the way of his success. He had been a man of confidence and bravado, but behind the scenes the reality of what had happened started to set in his removal from love and hip-hop. I know, so I want to say I'm sorry. Music to knots I can give. Let me tell you something, when me and he feel like I'm not a good person, I feel same, so we on the same page. No, but he does not feel that. He said you feel like I'm not a good person in your life. No, you stay like stand. He did not say that. I said was if you feel like I'm a bad person to you, not about that right now. This is about you. How do you feel about him? I never said I had problem with him. He say something crazy and he like, oh, I got no beef. I got no always try to play a victim. He start then he want me like, I don't want no beef, man. If you got an issue, stand over. If not, sit down and shut. At the end of the day, like I said, bro, it really don't really matter. He go, no, because we're so our own thoughts. Watch like, okay, so what problem? I got problem beat million times. To Scrappy's career and family relationships had their ups and downs, but nothing could have predicted the day when his own behavior would cause him to fall from grace. It all began with a particularly heated argument with a Khaotic cast member who was known for his brash attitude and willingness to stir things up. He got into a fight with Scrappy over a minor issue that quickly got out of hand. Words were exchanged, insults were thrown, and the argument quickly turned into a full-fledged altercation. Scrappy, who was always prone to losing his temper, was at his breaking point as the tension in increasing. The two men exchanged
probably went too hard or something, took something the wrong way or something like that, you know. So I want to say I'm sorry to
fiery temper and loyalty to those in his circle. It all began during a particularly heated dispute with a disorganized cast member known for his bold demeanor and habit of stirring chaos. This fellow cast member, Khaotic, had never been afraid to voice his opinions, but when things escalated over a minor issue, it spiraled out of control. Words were exchanged, insults were thrown, and what started as a petty disagreement quickly became a full-blown altercation. Scrapped infamous for his short fuse soon found his breaking point in a startling flash of wrath. Scrappy threatened pandemonium in a way not only hostile but also directly hazardous, with his scary voice and cutting edge. Statements left no room for misinterpretation behind the cameras. Tension boiled over as everyone there froze in shock. This wasn't simply another debate for the cameras. Scrappy had crossed the line. The producers were shocked by what they saw. Although reality TV feeds on drama, even the turbulent world of love and hip-hop has its constraints. Scrappy had to act. Their zero-tolerance policy on threats and violence came into effect, and Scrappy's acts quickly sealed his doom. One of the French most often used. Famous Stars was out of a job. The layoff wasn't instantaneous, but when it happened it was swift. Scrappy, who had been part of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta since its inception, saw his entire career put at risk. The platform had been critical in showcasing his music, personal life, and complex family dynamics, now all about home in the balance, due to abrasive words, but Scrappy's threats were what the producers and crew who had been present during the scene were shocked that this wasn't just another heated argument, but that a man had crossed the line. He threatened chaos in a way that went beyond simple words, and his tone was menacing. The words themselves left little room for interpretation. This would ultimately seal his fate in a moment of rage. I don't play no victim. I just don't do all that false gang talk you of all music. Things moved rapidly behind the cameras. Although reality television had long functioned under the impression of chaos and drama, the Love and Hip Hop brand had a zero-tolerance policy for threats and violence. These boundaries have been breached by Scrappy's outburst, and the authorities soon came to a judgment. One of the most known faces on the program, Scrappy, was forced to depart, while Swift's decision to dismiss. Scrappy wasn't made right away. It was a painful blow because he had been a part of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. The decision was reached after careful consideration of the potential effects it could have on the show's reputation, as well as the safety of the cast and crew. Since the start, the show had been a vital part of his career, providing him with a platform to showcase his music life and complex relationships with his family. However, when the news broke, fans were devastated, with some being incensed at Scrappy for losing his fury and causing up trouble. For Scrappy, the dismissal represented more than just the end of a television program. It was a reminder of the cost of his fury and his failure to control it in a moment of emotion. In the days that follow it, Scrappy remained, despite some people being disappointed by how swiftly the show had taken action, which was a reflection of the F-line reality star's frequent balancing act between entertainment and personal consequences. While he continued to appear on the show, the tension between him and Scrappy remained in the background. The show would continue without Scrappy, but for the first time in a long time, the spotlight was no longer on him. For Scrappy, the lesson was difficult but necessary. The anger that had once served as a shield now stood as a barrier to his success. Quietly reflecting on his actions, his public persona had always been one of bravado and confidence, but behind the scenes, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. The loss of his place in hip-hop and Love